labs. I'm not allowed to say that, apparently. One way of getting into trouble. Right, everyone. I thought tonight we would look at Learning Unit 2 innovation and work through it. We've not looked at innovation, is that correct? We've not looked at this as a chapter yet because we did the assignment, then we did Learning Unit 1, and then we did this. I did ask you guys, I think it was on Friday, and I'm sure that I've asked you, to look at what companies have had to do in response to the insanity that is Donald Trump. Did anyone get a chance to do that little bit of research? I don't give homework, I just hope people have a glance at it. Has anyone looked at anything that Trump and the insanity have caused companies to do? I'm sure I sent it on ARC on Friday. No one get a chance to that. For me, the worrying thing let me ask, did anyone look? For me, the worrying thing is that it is almost the opposite of, of what I'm going to talk to tonight. There has been such a reversal of everything that is decent and honest and in terms of what we should be doing and not be doing. What have I done with this now? I've now messed up my Learning Unit 2. Oh, come on. I've messed up my Learning Unit 2. Okay, I don't know where I've backed it up, and I will look for it. So when we look, guys, at strategic innovation, I think the rule is, Milani, please mute yourself.
Sorry.
No problem. I think, Vivian, you can mute yourself as well, please. I think when we look at strategic innovation, I think we have realized that we're at that point in the world where the saying innovate or evaporate has become very much a reality. The idea that if you're not pushing on the envelope in terms of innovations, you are not going to survive. And I mean, we've seen significant advances in terms of innovation just as a consequence of AI, and AI impacting everything from medicine right through to what you guys do, right through to what programmers do, which is deeply disturbing. So when we look at this notion of innovate or evaporate, there are a couple of things that are important in terms of our survival strategies as organizations. So if we look at really innovative organizations, which would you put at the top of the pile of innovative organizations? Who are the really innovative organizations out there? I always think of this one, guys. No, thanks. Tesla, yeah. I always think of this one. If we look at Google, I'm always astonished at this here. What Google has given us. I don't know if anyone's ever done the more and even more in terms of Google. NVIDIA, without a doubt. But it is insane what is on offer. If you ever get a chance, go and have a glance at what real innovation is in the context of that kind of technological environment. These are just all freebies on the Google format. This is for business. I'm pretty sure some of you may use, and then if you're a programmer, this is what you use. So for me, when I think of innovation, it's the example that Google sets. How do we measure levels of innovation in an organization? How do we measure innovation in an organization? One of the metrics that companies use is this idea of the number of patents that you register. Now, if we look here, Samsung 9,304 miles ahead of LG on a lowly 5156, Taiwan and Qualcomm, that one there. The scary thing is, guys, this is just what was registered in 2024. And we see so many advances as a consequence of what gets registered. And there they are. Samsung again at the top. The one company that used to be at the top all the time and has fallen from grace significantly is IBM. And the American company, I think IBM is. And then you can see some of the others here. But the common denominator here is that these are people in telecommunications and information technology. Anyone surprised by any of those included there? Intel is always going to be there. I wonder if NVIDIA is there. No, they're not there. This one is surprising, Johnson and Johnson. But I suppose there would be medicines and other things that are registered. Toyota is up there. Yeah, no, but Microsoft has become stale, boy. I think Microsoft has really become stale. They haven't been anywhere near the top in the last 10 years. I think they fell from grace a long. Think of when last Microsoft gave us a brand new innovation. It's been a long, long time. It is a long time. But it's also interesting that these two, and I think this is South Korea, is that right? Someone help me quickly. That is South Korea. Um, I mean, top two South Korean, which when we think of South Korea as a country, is a dot on a map. So when we think of this idea of innovation, and again, and I sound like a broken record, the innovate or evaporate, it becomes heck of important that you are constantly pushing the actual envelope in terms of what is out there. So if we look at the different forms of innovation, I think the first one is that it's the need to understand that innovation doesn't happen by itself. Innovation, yes, sometimes you'll end up with an aha idea and there'll be lots of excitement around this aha moment, and you'll have one of my favorite examples of a simple innovation, but the post-it note. So when we think of the post-it note, it initially the glue that binds the post-it note was designed to be the super effective super glue, and it turned out that it is a reusable, restickable thing. And that aha moment when you've achieved something in terms of new to the world, and we've seen in terms of AI the kind of innovations that have been. So when we think of what it is a constant, deliberate, and proactive approach. It is this kind of culture in an organization where on a daily basis you question the status quo, or the culture in an organization where you are constantly looking at changing the way we make things, the way we deliver things, the way we actually design things, the products that we make, the services that we deliver, and all of that is about getting great organizational performance. So when we think of strategic innovation, it is that need that Samsung lives by every day, and it's to be a step ahead of the rest. It is that one single innovation at a time, but it accumulates over a significant amount of time. Give me examples of strategic innovations in the recent past that has changed your life. Innovation that has changed your life in the recent past. For me, it's AI. For me, it is ChatGPT and what ChatGPT allows me to do in terms of lecturing. Any innovations that have changed the way you look at the world? Go for it, Milani.
Probably the most significant innovation for me is e-commerce. Considering how
E-commerce.
I, yes, considering how I want to pursue business, e-commerce changed the way I want to pursue business. considering how most of the costs that you have to consider no longer need to be considered with e-commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and everything is available online now. I mean, you can buy groceries online. I mean, Checkers 6060 is a wonderful example. And I know you guys are doing this or might have done that as part of your will. Other innovations that have changed your life, guys, in the recent past. I recently changed cars and I've got car with all the technology. First of all, it makes me feel as if I'm not good enough to drive because it warns about everything and it blinks and everything. But the advances over my Tiguan are significant. We kept the Tiguan, although because it's fairly new, but just in the recent past, how technology has changed the way I look at motor vehicles and how I get the impression the motor vehicle tries to act like a big brother in relation to me, and it irritates me intensely. So, guys, when we look at strategic innovation, the first one is this idea of remaining relevant. Really successful organizations reinvent themselves. Give me examples, and I'm going to use one that you guys are possibly sick of by now, ShopRite Checkers. Give me innovations in the last 5 years that indicate that ShopRite Checkers or ShopRite Holdings constantly reinvigorate what they do. Since 2020, what have they done to suggest that they are keeping fresh? Their ideas, their approaches. Go, Milani.
Checkers and ShopRite started making their products available online. I think this was largely due to the fact that the pandemic couldn't allow us to go to shops.
So
So
online
to,
shopping, absolutely.
yeah.
And then that personal
So,
shopper. Yeah, go for it, Milani.
so to stay in business, they would make it more accessible to consumers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The pharmacy edition as well. And the fact that Checkers 6060 is so readily available. I know people that don't even go and shop anymore. It's just Checkers 6060 to them. Um, and obviously the Hyperama now having the slightly bigger vehicles to deliver those kinds of things as well. So we see Checkers constantly reinventing themselves. It's astonishing to know that their next move is to attempt to take on Amazon and take a lot in that kind of space. And I honestly think when ShopRite Checkers puts their mind to it, you're going to run into difficulty as an existing company. So, in terms of this, guys, there are a couple of things that you need to know. The first one is that as much as you want to be cutting edge, you still need to remember there are late adopter customers, there are existing customers who need to be kept happy. So balancing this idea of having a step ahead of everything else with also looking after the current customers in terms of their wants and needs is very important. The problem is if you go too far into the future, people start saying to you, you're trying to be gimmicky. The one thing you don't want to ever hear when you do innovation is that you're being gimmicky, and balancing that you don't fall behind and get trapped in the past while still looking at the present and looking at the future is a tough process. Very, very tough because there are those kind of customers that are early adopters that are at the edge of the curve, but there are still those traditional customers you need to look after. So balancing those two is very, very difficult to do. The next one is that when we look at a traditional, effective organization, you concern yourself with systems and procedures that promote efficiency, that promote productivity. You have lots of controls and quality controls in place. I think if you become an innovative organization, you have to reconsider things like the culture of the organization, the structure of the organization, the way the organization does things on a daily basis. So, traditional organizations are pretty good at being effective, but trying to become both is very, very difficult because the reality is that, being cutting edge, yet looking after the controls. And you'll see, we'll talk about this later, the idea of a chaotic structure where you have chaos and you have order in the chaos. And it's that kind of blend in this new organization. Guys, and then just where future competitive is, it's about disruption. Checker 6060, online shopping, deliveries, etc. I think they are one of the most significant disruptors in the food retail industry in the country. They are constantly rattling poor Pick and Pay and poor Spar, and to an extent Woolworths as well. Give me other examples of disruptors in different industries. Other examples of disruptors. This is one that doesn't make sense to me, and I think some of you will be able to explain this better than I can even figure out how it works. But this silly internet bank thing, Time Bank, is one of the most significant disruptors in the banking industry. It happened obviously with Capitec, and Capitec rattled some serious cages. Has anyone ever used Time Bank? It is well worth a look at. I don't understand exactly how it works. It is backed by Matsepe, the wealthy billionaire from South Africa, but it's all online. It is apparently very efficient and it apparently works. It's very low charges. I just, at my age, I've been with Standard Bank for freaking 40 years, I would imagine, and it's very difficult to imagine I could go here. Other disruptors in the industry, guys? In any industry? Other disruptors? I mean, think of what Uber did to the taxi industry. Go, Dominique.
So I was going to say Netflix as well, but I'm not quite sure how big of an impact it's had against TV, like TV, so SABC 1, 2, 3, and
Well, look at the
ETV.
impact on DSTV, boy. Netflix and Amazon have killed DSTV.
Yeah.
DSTV numbers have disappeared. I mean, it's a wonderful example. Also, Netflix killed what video stores and whatever DSTV membership decline. Milani, you go. I mean, look, I mean, it just keeps dropping and it's dropped further. Yeah, and here DSTV has lost another million. And the simple truth is it's because of yeah, and they're dropping significant numbers. Sorry, go for it, Milani.
I was going to say TikTok is a disruptor in the social media industry.
Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is the other day, because my students are becoming quite suspicious of any news, whether it's CNN or not that we get Amazon, not that we get Fox in the country. And they say they rely on TikTok for news. Surely that's far more unreliable than CNN. But you are right, TikTok is a major disruptor. Who here is on TikTok? One person, I don't believe it's just you. But TikTok has rattled a few cages. Anyone create content for TikTok? I browse only. Yeah, no, same here. I mean, I'm not going to. What about my students comment that they look for news on TikTok? Dom, go for it. Go for it, Dominique. You just,
Yes. So
yeah.
just to add on TikTok and news, well, actually social media news. I think that the angle that TikTok and Instagram or people on these websites, the angle that they take with publishing news is that they always twist the narrative in a way that they say that the news outlets will never ever tell us the whole truth. And so they kind of tell us that they are telling us the truth, basically digging us into believe that the real news or the truth is on Instagram and your TikToks, which I believe to be dangerous in some sense, but that is what I've
I
noticed.
think it's very dangerous. I think,
Yeah,
I'm told I'm insane to trust CNN. So, CNN, everyone tells me that that is skewed. But I think everyone has their own narrative. And in TikTok, everyone there is looking for views. So you will say anything to get views. Airbnb disrupted the entire renting and hiring of hotels, etc. Vivian, you're right. So, in terms of this modern organization, I think disrupting and rattling cages. And the one thing we see with disruptions is that it often renders previous organizations and technology irrelevant. I mean, for me, if you think of Google as a disruptor, no one has encyclopedias anymore. I'm pretty sure no one has a Garmin anymore. Some of you might not even know what a Garmin is, but it really does destroy previous options. I mean, the next big disruptor also is drones and drone deliveries. And I think drone technology will significantly disrupt your traditional courier companies. And we also already see drones being used in a place like Rwanda to deliver medicine to rural areas. So I know we have to change our laws, but for me, drone technology is big. And I've have gone and trained as drone pilots in preparation for that kind of transition when it comes to deliveries, etc. Do you think we'd ever use drone technology in South Africa to deliver?
absolutely, sir.
I think it is. I think the first one that happens, people will think that an alien has landed and will take shots at it. But I think people will get used to it. I mean, it's working really well in Rwanda, and in the rural areas delivering meds. So, in terms of these kinds of disruptions, I think we need to separate between disruptive innovation, the kinds that rattle cages, that render industries obsolete, that destroy organizations completely, and then sustaining innovation. And over time, making sure that our innovations survive. So when we look at the idea of disruptive innovation, I think the one rule about disruptive innovation and technologies is initially they are very, very weak. They take a bit of time perfecting. So I always think of the I BMW, the first sort of hybrid majorly electric. People were not happy with the first couple of electric vehicles. Now the evolution is significant. So initially, your disruption is, yeah, it's questioned whether this is actually what the future is and where the future will go. Think of the first laptops versus, once they've been perfected, how amazing laptops have become. Give me other examples of early disruptors that were a bit dodgy, but over time improved significantly. Go for it, Milani.
When they initially introduced touchscreen smartphones, while most phones in the industries had buttons.
Yeah, I mean, initially those touch screens weren't great. I mean, now, my gosh, think of the first cameras in a phone, how awful they were. And when you think of the cameras now, emails as well, people couldn't understand how to work emails. Think of cameras when they were included in phones. Now, you guys are all too young for that, but those were not good not good value, not good quality. If you look at what's in top end phones now, and I mean you can shoot a movie and it looks Hollywood quality. So initially these disruptors, they good for the early adopters, but they glitchy and they have significant glitches. But the truth is that every technology that is designed has a natural theoretical maximum. So the best example for me would be the way we configure our processors on computers. There is a natural theoretical limit And as software gets more resource intensive, you will get to the stage where we can't do anything more with our current configuration in terms of our processes to cope with the new software. So we know that we've now moved to quantum computing, and I don't know how quantum computing will become a household thing because, if you've seen a quantum computer, it's a massive thing. But quantum computing started off slowly, but my gosh, the exponential growth in terms of what can be processed is insane. Go for it, Milani.
So I just wanted to know, do disruptive innovations only include technologies in industries?
No,
Can it include
Capitec was a
something?
disruptive innovator. The banking system was messed. Capitec was a disruptive innovator. Guys, think of other disruptors, not from a technology perspective, but technology generally plays a significant part. Emails, yeah, killed off the post office. I don't even know whether the post office still exists. Where else, guys? The technology will always play a role in that. But the current disruptors tend to be focused around technology. Um, yeah, it's actually a good point. But for me, non-technology was Capitec Bank. So in terms of disruptive innovation, this term, and I absolutely love this term, the idea of creative destruction, where we realize that older technologies will reach this natural maximum that we can get out of them. And that we'd have to find ways of moving beyond those, the idea of creative destruction, so that we can bring in these new technologies that will at some point also be destroyed by other technologies. So when we think of the natural limitations in terms of petrol-driven engines, when we look at petrol-driven engines, you can only get a petrol-driven engine at a maximum level of efficiency. You're not going to get more out of an EcoBoost. It's reached its theoretical limit. You're not going to get more out of TFSI technology for Volkswagens. What is the Mazda? Anyone here drive a Mazda? I can't remember what the Mazda's efficiency thing is. But the truth is, we need to move beyond petrol. Now, I don't believe electric vehicles is the future. I tend to think hydrogen is. But this idea of creative destruction is that we keep replacing technologies. And ultimately, these new technologies that will take over from the ones we've replaced will also be replaced down the road, because that is the nature of innovation. We will render things completely obsolete. So in terms of sustaining innovation, I think these essentially allow those organizations who have a good track record, who have a good reputation, who have a good product and service offering to maintain higher levels of profit margins. And what happens is, even though the technology has been around for a while, through continuous improvement, through, you guys have come across this term, Kaizens, yeah, the idea of Kaizen, you perfect what you have with the knowledge that there will be disruption. But I think when you think of high-end products, things that have been perfected over time, those kind of sustaining technologies are still important, because they give those kind of organizations that want to be innovative the finances to make the magic happen in terms of their creative destruction and their disruptive innovations. And I think someone said that Microsoft was low. I think Microsoft, for me, lives on this. Where is that? Microsoft lives on that. Is that a fair comment? When last did we see anything earth-shattering from Microsoft? I'm sure there's stuff happening, but for me, I think Microsoft survives on sustaining innovations. I think Google survives on those. And then obviously with the idea. It's been so long, I cannot remember, Vajesh. Now, I don't even know what version of Windows I have. I think I've got Windows 11. I'm sure I don't know what version it is. Is it Windows 11, the current version, guys? Was it Windows? I don't know what it is. I don't really care either. So it's that kind of long-term success is based on reputation. So if we look at the difference between the two, I think sustaining current markets. So there are lots of competitors, guys. You'll remember we spoke about blue and red ocean. This is where you swim in a red ocean. Lots of sharks, feeding frenzy, and surviving depends on being impressive. Obviously, because these things have been around for a long time and you've benefited from the experience curve, you can survive by just doing enough, guys. And then just you have to Kaizen. Kaizen is small, ongoing improvements. It's the PDCA stuff, plan, do, check, act stuff that Nissan introduced in terms of the vehicles. Not that Nissan's the best example because they are in serious, serious trouble, but it is continuous improvement. Who here has a continuous improvement KPI included in their job? Where you're expected to make a certain number of innovation suggestions, improvements as part of your KPIs, your key performance indicators, KPIs, whichever you call it. Because really world-class organizations make sure that they give their employees some sort of target in terms of innovation, some sort of target in terms of improvement. Anyone work in manufacturing? It's quite interesting, guys. We should have people who do it. Milani, so anything like that?
No, I don't work in manufacturing, but
Okay.
I was going to suggest that I assume Tesla employees need that.
Yeah, no, I mean, in any manufacturing facility, if you have a production line, I can tell you now, if you're a world-class manufacturer, every one of the teams on a production line will be given a certain number of Kaizens that they have to make, a certain number of continuous improvements. Guys, and then just remember, these are the big boys. These are the guys who have fantastic brand reputation, and that brand guarantees that their products are supported into the future. Microsoft, as we said. This here is where you start creating new markets. You are a pathfinder in terms of creating a blue ocean. I don't know what the next innovation is. I mean, we are looking at advances in everything from transport to medical to food technologies into the future. I can't imagine eating a 3D printed steak, but sure, why not? Somebody will eat it. But I think it's moving and creating new industries. I mean, it's what the iPad did when it arrived. Is it a laptop? Is it a computer? What is it? Is it a phone? So it again changes the rules. Go for it, Dom.
So in that, could you also say that what Samsung have been doing with their flipping like touchscreen phones that they've been doing for the
That's it.
past
I
few
mean, for
years?
me, that is an innovation. I mean, it definitely is moving into something new. It
Mm.
definitely is moving into something new. I just think I've had and it's such a pathetic thing, and it shows you that I really am just a house husband without much hope of any excitement in my life. But we bought our first air fryer. And for me, air fryers changed the rules of the game. I mean, it's a silly innovation, but it created a new way of doing things. But for me, the best example of this kind of changing boundaries, etc., is when Google created their first search engine, is when Apple created its first iPhone. It's when Apple created the first standalone computer. I mean, all of those, Tesla arriving with the electric vehicles, although I still don't believe electric is the future. Guys, and then the second one, because you're a pathfinder and because you are writing the rules of the game. Remember, when you operate within sustaining innovations, you have best practices to follow. If you are here, I promise you that you create the practices as you move into the dark. You create the new practices. Those best practices don't exist for you. So you set the guidelines and the rules, etc., because you are the first to arrive. You are the first to make things happen. Guys, and then just yeah, the scary thing often about disruptive innovations, it's often done by guys who operate out of a garage. Now I know that that sounds silly, but if you look at the single cliche with every single big tech company that started from scratch, they started in a garage. It's become this kind of cliche, and these newcomers will rattle a few cages, and they do rattle cages. I mean, it's because they don't have any boundaries, and they're not constrained by culture and structure and thinking that could sometimes be considered groupthink. They tend to be very, very good at making a massive difference. Give me an example of more recent disruptors. More recent disruptors. WhatsApp, absolutely. I mean, that rattled some cages.
Could you say online learning?
Online learning, yeah, since 2020 become a reality. Yeah, and also the idea of work from home. The one I was thinking about is this guy here, guys. OpenAI. My gosh, this thing is has become my favorite, but it's more for I use it, and you can only in my classes, please use this for brainstorming, guys. You can't generate and copy in because that's not what is acceptable. But these guys, OpenAI, and then the other one that, and I keep struggling to get this one, DeepSeek. Who knows what DeepSeek is? Where's DeepSeek? Oh, here it is. This is the Chinese equivalent of OpenAI, of ChatGPT. From what I understand, I've not played with this one enough yet, but I believe it is more powerful than OpenAI's ChatGPT. Anyone ever used DeepSeek? Who has heard of DeepSeek previously? So yeah, you get your access, put in your detail, and voila, off you go. It's worth having a look at, guys. I believe it is very, very powerful. Any other recent disruptors? Any other recent? Go, Dom.
Would it make sense to add something like Sora AI? It's part of chapter Open AI.
Absolutely,
Yeah, and,
100%,
yeah,
boy.
and I could believe that it really disrupted the like the animation side of things, because
Yeah.
now you could just type in like a text and then it will give you like a short video of like what you wrote in.
I mean, that to me is, and I am on TikTok, but yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on it. But my gosh, some of the AI generated videos are scary. Yes, I
Yeah,
mean,
because there's even another one called Playground AI, where you
playground.
can
Oh dear. Okay.
where you can write something in and you essentially get like art, like you can create your own art.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
change, and then you register it as an NFT and you sell it on, well, I don't know whether whether it's sold in terms of blockchain. I don't have any idea how that works. Yeah, well, guys, think of Bitcoin as a disruptor. You know, Bitcoin, yeah, has rattled a few cages. So, in terms of what do we need to do if we want to have strategic innovation? The first one is your organizational culture has to be perfect. Organizational culture is the personality of an organization. The moment someone says that's the way we do things around here, you are listening to someone refer to the idea of the culture of the organization. I think the first one is Managers and the leaders in the organization set the initial tone, set the values that will guide the culture. And remember, your culture, or the culture, will be a reflection of your real values, where your stated values will be that where you go vision, mission, value statement, and your long-term objectives. Your stated values will always tell you how you're going to look after the interests of your different stakeholders, and also the environment and innovation and those kinds of things. Culture would be your real values. It would be the lived values. Who wants to describe the culture in their organization, the personality of their organization? Anyone want to describe the culture of their organization? Can I say whose cultures are dynamic, exciting, challenging the status quo? And I'm going to be rude. Whose cultures are stale? Dom, so you're on the exciting one. Whose cultures are stale, where it is yesterday is the same as the day before, which will be the same as tomorrow. I can't wait to resign, because I still think we get organizations that are that. This kind of culture is about challenging, it's about dynamism, it is about making sure that every single person every day thinks differently about what they had done the day before. Now, in terms of cultures, the kinds of things that try and guide culture would be regulations, would be your standards. I like the idea of the principles there. The key principle here is that we challenge, we innovate, we hire people who are significantly competent, and we give them the freedom to make magic. If you ever get a chance, guys, just go into YouTube and search organizational culture at Google. It's the most dynamic culture you can imagine, and everything they do is about focusing on dynamism. And then if the other one, just search Googleplex, on YouTube, if you want to see where they work. Even the way the organization, the layout of the Googleplex is there to promote innovation, guys. And then just the kind of problem with the wrong culture is that these controls inhibit employees. And I don't like that idea. So for me, the kind of culture is one that provides empowerment, that provides freedom, that gives people opportunities to showcase their talents. Right. And then, guys, to get an innovation culture, you can see the kind of standards you need to maintain. So creativity, lots of right thinking. What Google do to promote creativity is they bring in tech talks. These tech talks would range from anything from the origins of the universe right through to future technologies that haven't been created yet, and everything in between. The idea of those tech talks is not really to teach, but it's to spark ideas. It's to get people to think differently. The one concern, and I've read enough articles on this to start thinking this might be real. Apparently in Silicon Valley, what people do is they drop acid. I sound so gangster when I say drop acid. I don't even know what it means. But they use acid, and there's this belief that when you use acid and you listen to loud music, you create the idea of 3D printing body parts. Please don't report me and say, oh, if you get a little bit nuts at work. I know I'm trying to be creative. I won't be able to represent you guys. Guys, and then risk taking. And risk taking is the idea that we will make mistakes, but my gosh, you never stop taking chances. Collaboration, it's always going to be team-based, and it's always cross-functional areas. So these teams will have somebody who's an IT person, somebody who's a marketer, and it's the kind of ideas that bounce off each other. The continual improvement, it's the Kaizen stuff. So we know that in terms of Kaizen, you will become very stale very quickly unless you are constantly pushing the edge of getting better. So in terms of the kinds of things that allow an innovation culture to prevail, and you can see there, empowered employees, the idea that if there are mistakes, these are opportunities for learning, and then this continuous learning. It's lifelong learning with a specific focus. Guys, and then for those people that are innovative, that create kaizens, that add new ideas, that is recognized and celebrated, and significantly recognized and celebrated. And then this reward systems should make sure that we constantly push individuals in terms of new ideas, make it part of their KPIs, and reward them accordingly. And as I said, when you work in teams, you will have people from different speciality areas, from marketing to IT to science to engineering to manufacturing. And that kind of collaboration allows for magic to happen. And then a flexible work environment. And the word that people sometimes use is chaotic. And chaotic is the magic mix, chaotic, like that. I don't know if I spelled it right, chaotic. It's a magic mix between order and chaos. So you want enough order, which is often given by your vision, to allow for chaos to happen when it's about innovation. And it's chaos in a good way, chaotic environment. Guys, can I see how many of those would you tick if you had to rate your own organization? Remember, what happens on the group stays on the group. How many of those would you tick in order to rate your own company where you work? Who ticks all of them? Amy, what do you do and where do you work? Amy, what do you do and where do you work? You can unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry.
No
So
problem.
I am currently a bookkeeper at an accounting and tax firm.
You want to tell me they're innovative? They're the opposite of innovative.
I mean,
Teasing, I don't know what.
yeah, even though you do the same thing, I mean, we're getting different systems in place. So
No, I think accounting has changed. And also with AI and these entry-level bots doing accounting work. I mean, accounting firms are under pressure. Accounting firms are under
definitely.
big pressure. Yeah. Anyone else, guys? Their company looks like that? I just defended every accounting firm. You know that, Amy? Claudine, what do you do?
Should I really tell you, Henny?
I always want someone to say I'm an assassin. I always have this dream that you're a paid assassin or something. I just want one of my students to have that. What do you do, Claudine? Please be a paid assassin.
No, I'm not a paid assassin.
Oh, shucks, man.
But I can be a paid assassin.
What do you do?
I'm an executive at a listed company on the JSE.
You're such a show-off, an executive. Oh my gosh. So listed company on the JSE. Innovative, Claudine? I won't ask which company.
No, we're trying to be, but it's a daily challenge.
It is a daily challenge, and you become very stale very quickly. You don't want to tell us which company?
Not right now, no. But I'm sure after this call, I'm going to be Googled or something.
Oh gosh, I'm going to Google you right now.
All right.
Oh dear Lord, can I do it? Okay.
Yes.
Oh dear Lord. I'm petrified what I'm going to find. Claudine, what is your surname? Ibrahim. Oh my gosh. Is this you? No. Ibrahim. Oh, for Pete's sake. Why has this now happened?
Because you're not supposed to.
Well, it's too late now, and we're going to see what you look like as well. Ibrahim. Oh, there you are. Oh my word, you famous chick. Oh, is it this one, Claudine?
Yes.
Zita. Is that you?
That's me.
You're such a show off. Please give me a job. So what does Zeta do? Oh, okay. Very impressive, Claude. Very impressive. Okay.
Thanks,
Any,
Henny.
okay. Anyone else want to be an assassin? Claudine has just disappointed us. Dom, what do you do?
Yeah, so I am actually an assassin.
Oh, wonderful news.
I'm
Fantastic.
kidding. No, I'm kidding.
You
No,
got
I'm
the
kidding.
pose for an assassin, boy.
No, I'm kidding. So I'm actually in marketing for social media.
Okay.
In a yeah for a German company because I live in Germany.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So you
But
called in from Germany now. Where in Germany, boy?
so I live in Erlangen. It's about 15-minute drive from Nuremberg, which is a more well-known city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and but the company that I work for is stationed in Hamburg, so I do everything. So my work is remote, but sometimes I do have to go up there and like meet people. But it's very off chance. It doesn't happen that often.
I think a couple of us might be jealous of you, boy. I mean, we want to live in Germany as well. Hey.
Yeah, but I must say, with the innovation, from the list you showed us, I counted maybe three that I would say definitely. And diversity, I wouldn't say it's there
Yeah.
because yeah, because there aren't that many people of color in Germany. I would say, especially in my
So you're there for your
workplace.
color, boy.
Yeah.
You
You
must
could say
report me immediately.
you could say that, yeah. Yeah, but
Oh, I'm gonna be fired.
yeah, but yeah, I would definitely say it is flexible. The mistakes are welcomed,
Okay, very
definitely,
cool.
and yeah, and anything innovative is always like celebrated and
That's
like
brilliant,
recognized.
Boya.
Yeah,
That's a
really, yeah.
good start. That's a good start. Vivian, I quite like your idea here as well. Hey, I mean, hybrid seed production, you have to constantly look at new technologies. Do you live in Nigeria? Are there other people who are not in South Africa? Dom, I'm so impressed that you're calling in from Germany, man. That's so cool. We have an assassin, we have a German assassin. Yeah. Vivian, do you live? Did Vivian leave? I think she might have left. I'm talking to myself. Okay, guys, and then just if we look at, yeah, where leadership is in it, where leadership fits in. I can't even talk anymore. It's been a long day. Give me examples of great man innovators. And it's great man theory is not my theory. The idea of great man theory is that one person can make a difference. And there are a couple that stand out in my mind. Give me examples of great men who have been at the forefront of pushing innovations,
The Wright
which is
brothers.
the Wright brothers, without a shadow of a doubt. In terms of more modern, not that this guy is around anymore, I honestly think Steve Jobs had a magic wand. Yeah, Bill Gates referred to Steve Jobs in an interview as a wizard. He somehow had this magic inkling to see new tech, to see new connects in the world. I think for me, Steve Jobs fits that great man approach. And obviously Google is Sergey Brin and Larry Page. But the simple truth is the world has become so complex that we now see that you need innovators absolutely everywhere, from the lowest in the organization to the highest. And we see fewer of this great men innovation happens. Innovations happen. But we still, obviously, you've still Bill Gates and you've still got, I hate these people, but Mark Zuckerberg and those kinds of individuals. So, in terms of leadership, I think first of all, leadership is there to create an environment where other people can be fantastic. There are lots of ways of doing that, but you have to create a structure where people can collaborate, where they work in teams, and you have to hand over a lot of authority and power because the authority and power cannot be vested at the highest level in the team. So, in terms of the kinds of things leaders do, they actively listen because the best ideas come from the people you don't expect to get ideas from. Those individuals that think left of center, that are so unique in their approaches. And then the second one is you create an environment where people are able to contribute, where they are given this opportunity to be fantastic. I think one of the most disappointing things I always realize with organizations is that you look at the advertisement and utopia is painted in the advertisement. And then people arrive at work and it is a swamp with bottom feeders trying to drag you down with them. Anyone ever experienced that their job advert was significantly more rosy than their job? I always think that when we write job adverts, we write these phenomenal things, but when you arrive there, yeah, the grass isn't green. Guys, and then lastly, it is this innovation process. Innovations don't just automatically happen. We work at them, we focus on them, we manage them. And then just in terms of the innovation process, yeah, I think Stephen King, in his book on how to write, said that no one must ever tell him that they can't find story ideas. He argued that he could stand in a supermarket for an hour and end up with 10 different book ideas. And I think real innovators do that as well. They constantly are aware of what's happening in the environment. They listen to little signals from the environment. They pick up little cues about new technologies or about new opportunities. But these are individuals that do the Stephen King thing, but they do it in relation to the world. They look constantly for alternatives. Guys, and then I think the rule is if you become stale, you lose very quickly. I think also you have to constantly push for change. An organization has to adjust because the environment adjusts, and you have to remain in line with the environment. And then, yeah, I think also these are individuals that overcome threats with very, very clear strategies. Go, Dom.
With regards to becoming stale, I wanted to ask, what would you call it if a company essentially prevents its customers from seeking out a newer or better innovation? And the best example I could use for that is Apple versus Samsung, for example, where Apple have been creating the exact same phone for I don't know how many the last few years as an Apple user myself, and where Samsung is constantly innovating, coming up with new ideas
Yeah.
like amazing phones, and how Apple basically keep their customers with them is that they have the iCloud. If you go over to a different phone, you lose all of your information that you've.
That's exactly. For me, I'm on Samsung. My oldest son, who is in AI, he in artificial intelligence, he is on Apple. I honestly see Apple as a prison. And once you get locked in, you end up now he's got everything. He's got an Apple Mac, he's got the iPad, he's got the iPhone, and he's also got a Apple TV thing. I don't know what it is. I honestly think Apple has the ability to, the way they connect through their cloud, to lock you in a prison. And it's so damn difficult to leave that people rather just stay. I don't know if that's my assessment of Apple isn't very positive, unfortunately, when it comes to that. Any comments about the Apple prison? Anyone else in the Apple prison? You're locked in there, boy. You can't escape that prison without serious and difficult effort. And most people don't have the time or the energy to do that. Any comment on
Yeah.
that, Dom?
Yeah, no, it seems like I'm definitely in the prison because I used to have a MacBook, but then got rid of it because I realized that they are actually more of a hassle and unnecessarily expensive. But it still goes back to the thing of on my phone. I've had an Apple phone for a very long time, and on the iCloud I have like a lot of things that I do
Yeah,
not want to lose out on.
yeah.
And yeah, that's why I think that although it would be nice to go to Samsung because I know, well, in my opinion, I don't want to like rustle anyone's feathers. In my opinion, I believe that Samsung is just far ahead in terms of innovation and technology and things like that, versus Apple. Um, it's you can't just leave because
Yeah.
there's so much
For
more.
me, where I teach students that are face to face that are 2021, Apple is a status symbol. Samsung less so, which again, I don't have a phone for a status symbol. Milani, I will give Milani the last chance before we call it quits. We've gone over time.
I just wanted to comment on the Apple prison that I think it's largely due to how they market the product.
But it's
That
the cloud that
psychology,
locks you in. That iCloud locks you in.
the psychology behind the marketing.
Yeah, yeah. I've been with Samsung for a long time. I started off with Sony and then came to Samsung and will never leave Samsung. Guys, so in terms of, yeah, I think we've gone over time and I'm in trouble. Can I just, and I want to stop recording. For the people that are so quiet in my class, just tell me that you're here at least.